Of all the things that I've used to upregulate dopamine, this is the most potent. Kanna contains one of the most powerful VMAT2 upregulators known to man. VMAT2 essentially collects the monoamines in the cytosol, packages them up, and transport them to synaptic vesicles, and releases them to elicit a physiological response. VMAT2 is very important for cognition, with high levels being important for neuroprotection, and inhibiting VMAT2 can cause Parkinson's symptoms, so it's very critical for the dopamine system. Kanna upregulates VMAT2, so it will upregulate dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, increasing your baseline levels. It can help reduce your tolerance to stimulants and enhance your quality of life. And this upregulation lasts a long time, from weeks to months, and even then some. It has a crazy strong afterglow effect that I thought was going to be great, or so I thought. And honestly, there is a downside and a dark side to upregulating dopamine, and it's part of the reason why I cannot take Kanna anymore. I started experimenting with Kanna around December this past year, and it was great. Like, I took it, I was just in a better mood. I was giggling at jokes that I was making to myself. I would watch videos on YouTube and just cackle and die laughing. I would talk to somebody on the phone and we would just have such a great conversation. It was so much easier for me to just have that wit in the moment, to be funny, to tell stories, to get along with people. It was great. I was taking Kanna, and in my head I was like, I'm gonna keep taking it. This is fantastic. Why would I ever stop? And I took it around 7 to 8 times in December, kind of spread out around Christmas time. And I would always take it sublingually. And so the effects are always strong, and I would always get strong effects acutely for a couple hours afterwards, and then it would kind of fade away, and then it started to not. And I started just to have intense anxiety, where I would wake up with anxiety like I just drank 4 cups of coffee on an empty stomach, and it was so uncomfortable. And this happened all around December, and I kept taking it because I didn't see the correlation, so I kind of minimized my stack. I kept taking it, and then it just got even worse, and I was like, okay, you know, it's Kanna, like that makes sense, right? You know, Occam's razor, it's probably simplest solution is the correct one most often. I would have anxiety about nothing, then just project it to different situations in my life. Like, I would drive home from my hometown to Edmonton, and I would just be anxious, like, oh, am I driving too fast? Oh, am I gonna get pulled over? Oh, will this girl text me back? Oh, is there a future with this girl? This intense anxiety lasted a couple of days, then the weeks to the months afterwards. My anxiety was a bit higher, as was my tolerance to stimulants or anything that affects dopamine or so. It was kind of bad. Like, in my head, I was like, I wish I never took Kanna. I want this to end. I want this to end. For example, like, I noticed my ADHD medication, its normal dose, usually it would give me a good motivation boost, like a mood enhancement, all of that. Now it just makes me autistic and angry. I can't socialize. My heart beats super fast, and it's just an uncomfortable, speedy kind of crackhead experience. I would take L-tyrosine and get such a strong effect where usually it wouldn't give me an effect at all. The B complex that I was taking was too stimulating for me, and I noticed I would just get agitated on it. And so that was a couple months ago. Now fast forward to the present day, most of the effects are gone, thankfully, except I'm still a bit more sensitive to nootropics, and I'm still a little bit more anxious than my baseline from what I remember. You know, long story short, there's a downside to upregulating dopamine, which kind of makes sense, right? If you think about dopamine, you think about motivation, stimulation, and anxiety, the other side of that coin, where if you increase dopamine, you can increase your stress hormones too, like epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, because oftentimes they're very linked. So if you increase your dopamine, you can increase your anxiety, and that's something that is not really talked about. This can be avoided with some atypical things like bromantane, except usually across the board that is kind of the case. I would still recommend this to you because you're not me. I'm hyper sensitive, except for a lot of people this can be very good for having a good compound that is great in the moment and great afterwards, where it can give you a positive mood effect, except also upregulate dopamine long term. So apart from the VMAT2 upregulation effect, it also is a PDE4 inhibitor, and it's because of this inhibition of this enzyme that it can increase blood flow around the body to the B and also to the P, if you catch my drift. It also inhibits serotonin reuptake, and serotonin is often the molecule of interoception of satiety that I have enough. Interestingly enough, Kanna was actually investigated for use of treating MDD before SSRIs were developed because it is so efficacious. It is titled nature's antidepressant because it has such strong effects for mood, where it would give you effects in hours compared to months with SSRIs. It wouldn't give you PSSD compared to SSRIs. and it's probably cheaper than SSRIs. It's also a CB1 agonist, so similar to THC without the psychoactive effects, where it can be good for mood and pain management. With a lot of things in life, you usually have to feel pain to get the gain, right? That's why you go to the gym, you go through that pain to get that gain. If you're sick, you drink cough syrup that tastes bad, except it works to get you better.
It tastes awful, and it works.
This is something where it's not true, where you go through pleasure to get more pleasure, where it feels good when you take it and it feels good afterwards. For the first 15 minutes, it's a subtle mood boost. For the next 15 minutes, you feel like you're dying a little bit. You feel just anxious and dysphoric and like, what's going on? Except that only lasts a little bit. And then afterwards, you feel happy, you feel energized, you're just in a good mood, you kind of have like a good flow state with whatever you're doing, you just have more enjoyment in whatever activity you are participating in, whether that's reading a book or playing a video game or watching a movie. And then it can give you some slight anxiety or energy depending on who you are. A lot of people do a priming protocol with Kanna so that they take low doses initially to start off, just to reduce their tolerance to it, because it has a reverse tolerance effect due to that upregulation. And so they'll take small doses, usually 4 to 5 times, until they take a full dose, just so they get the full effects from that dose. You can do that if you want. You don't need to do that. You know, it is safe as well. It's been used for thousands of years in South Africa. Usually the dose depends on the product a little bit, whether that is a tincture, capsule, a tablet, whatever it be. I use the Nootropics Depot version, and I would highly recommend that because I feel like they are the best. It took them 5 years to come out with this product, so they definitely did their due diligence. And you could take the tablet, take it sublingually. That's probably the best way to get the effects. That's what I did, and that's how it kind of ruined my life for a little bit. Except we're all back to normal now, hopefully. Because it increases serotonin, there is possible risks with combining it with SSRIs for serotonin syndrome, which is rare, and you kind of have to be motivated to get there, except it is a risk and it is a concern. If there was such a thing as charisma in a pill, it would be Phenibut, without a shadow of a doubt. Check out this video I did reviewing Phenibut, you know, the social godliness drug, as it's been called, because it is honestly that. It is great for socializing.